Hi, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Corey, and this is Brainstorm. Today, we're here with...
Chris Erlanson, president of Tennessee Flight Training.
So, flight training.
Uh-huh.
How did that come about? Because I understand that was a career pivot for you. So let's talk about kind of what you were doing before and how you got into purchasing a flight training school.
Wow. Okay. I love the way you package that question because, truth be told, I'm still trying to figure out the story myself. Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, my history is I worked in the music business for 23 years.
Okay.
And always worked in the background on the production side, on the record company side, even the management side, and was really having a good time, enjoying just working in the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun, got to travel around, awards, making some money.
Like you won awards?
Oh, sure. I mean,
Okay.
my artist did.
Okay,
you
but
know.
feel free to brag a bit. You know, who are we talking about here?
Yeah, you know. More than anything,
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed watching the creative process.
Okay.
Watching people come up and make beautiful art. It's a really fun thing.
Much like what you're a part of right now.
Here's what's weird.
Uh-huh.
There are some similarities,
Uh-huh.
but in that journey, I always had like little side investments.
Okay.
Like little things that we're doing on the side. Rental houses,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, where it's like, okay, you know, it's a side hustle, just making money. And I had gone and gotten my pilot's license just to go do something stupid.
Okay.
Like just to go and do something that had nothing to do with work.
Okay.
All right? Am I confusing you even more?
No,
No.
I like that you clarified that getting the pilot's license was the doing something stupid and
Yes.
not getting your pilot's license to then go do something stupid.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Correct.
Just want to...
So like, you know, I learned to fly because there's all of these great benefits of learning to fly.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go somewhere? Okay, go get in a plane and go.
And you can never get life insurance again. But I mean, you know.
No, actually you can.
Oh, okay.
You can. You
Okay.
pay a little extra.
Okay.
But you know, it's like it's all part of the game.
Sure.
Right? So I went, got my pilot's license on the side, never intended to get into the aviation business. I was that kid at 7 years old. I knew what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I was going to
Wow.
work in the music business, right?
Okay. Wow.
Wow.
Was that just from a passion for music and...
It was a passion for music,
Okay.
and I'll never forget watching a documentary on Sir Paul McCartney
Oh,
and going, that's cool.
When you were 7?
Yes.
Okay.
was
No.
this on like VH1, one of those channels that's no longer around?
This was pre-VH1.
Okay.
Pre-VH1.
Okay.
And so I'm watching television one day, and I'm like, oh, that seems really cool. I want to do that for the rest of my life. And I got to live that dream. I really did. But again, going back to the pilot's license thing, I'd gotten it for fun. I'd gotten it just because it was something to do that had nothing to do with work. And myself and a buddy, we went and started a flight school. And it was a side investment. It was never meant to be the thing.
Sure.
But as time rolled along and all of these changes began happening in the music business, I'm like,
What kinds of changes?
Well, for instance, this massive swing from, we were buying this tangible product. There's your Ends Bank plug, by the way.
Shameless plug.
Going from people going into the store and buying a tangible product to now they're just streaming it online.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of it turning into a retail transaction,
Yep.
the business had turned into asset management.
Sure.
And it was a lot of licensing. And the world is way different than it was 10 years ago, than it was 20 years ago, than it was when we were kids.
Sure.
Everything's different, right?
Sure.
So for me, I was looking and I'm like, there's a lot of changes going on. I'm really enjoying this aviation thing. And I just kept gradually sliding more and more and more into the world of aviation. And the more that I moved, the more joy that I got out of it.
Okay.
Wow.
And it's just really, really fun watching somebody that walks in the door and they don't even know what a propeller is. And then next thing you know, they're an airline captain. It's
Yeah.
really, really cool just watching that education process and watching somebody walk through the journey of learning to fly.
So what is a propeller?
It is the thing that keeps the pilot cool, because when it stops spinning, immediately the pilot begins to sweat.
Isn't that the little one at the front of the plane?
Yes.
Those
yes.
the round, well, but on jets, aren't they in those big round pieces that come out on the side?
The canisters on the side and the back.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's why superheroes shouldn't have tapes. They get sucked in.
That's correct. That's correct. That's a piece of trivia you should know.
That's important. I should probably
file that
I need to
away for the
update
next
my
trivia night.
superhero wardrobe because it is.
Read up on that.
It's got there's some capes involved, so I
Yes.
need to spruce that up.
Absolutely.
Okay. So talk to me about the process of learning to fly. Like how, because I feel like being even having learned to drive is obviously far different from learning
Especially
to
in
fly.
Nashville. Right? Yeah.
True.
Well, and I didn't learn how to drive in Nashville, so but
I didn't either, thank God.
Nashville has such a unique mix of aggressive and defensive drivers.
Oh yeah.
That you literally have no idea what anyone near you is
You
going
don't
to
know
do
what's
next.
you don't know what's going to happen.
No. So you're just like,
Very unpredictable.
I'm in this for myself.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
But so learning to fly feels like a very
That has to
intimidating
be an adrenaline
prospect. Yeah.
junkie. Where you,
There is I will say this. There are people that can't learn to fly.
Okay.
We see that every once in a while.
All right.
Somebody that walks in the door and they're like, "Oh, I want to become a pilot." And they're doing it because they want to chase the money. Okay, that's fine. And they get started and then they figure out real quick, I'm not cut out for this.
Okay.
is it fear?
It is, there's an element of multitasking that is very, very necessary in learning to fly. There's an element of learning to be in control. That's probably the biggest part of learning to fly.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, for instance, you remember years ago when there was the whole Miracle on the Hudson thing that happened?
Yes.
And you remember everybody went and they're chasing after Captain Sullenberger and they're like, "Oh, you're a hero, you're a hero." And he's like, "No, I'm not a hero. I just did exactly
Followed my training.
what I'd been trained to do." And so there's an element of training that we walk everybody through of it is your machine, you're in control of the machine, and you can always walk away from an incident, an accident, an emergency, whatever. You can always walk away. There's an element of staying calm and staying in control.
Wow.
That's the biggest lesson in learning to fly.
And I feel like you can't really teach that. That has to somewhat be inherent, I would think.
Yeah, and if it's not on the surface, you've got to pull it out of somebody,
Right.
and help them with their confidence and help them understand you really can control the machine.
So I guess going back to kind of the business. So you went full time. What year did you go full time into the training school?
What was that? 2014, 2015,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you started with one location, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now you have.
5.
So talk to us about that growth and how that's been on the management side for you.
Oh, it's been a nightmare. No, I mean, in all seriousness, what we did. So we went and here we started Tennessee Flight Training there. Well, it actually started as Nashville Flight Training.
Okay.
And we were there at B&A.
Okay.
Right there, Nashville International Airport, right there in the middle of all the traffic, all the commercial flights and everything. Here we planted a flight school.
Wow.
Which that in itself, that was kind of nuts.
Yeah.
That's
But it's worked out very well and very much in our favor.
Okay.
Because we train people in the environment that they're going to go work in.
true.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so it's like if you can get along at Nashville International, you can fly in anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we started off there as Nashville Flight Training. And then we came up with this idea. We're like, you know what? We see a lot of our customers are driving from all over the area. We had customers driving from Bowling Green to train with us.
wow.
We had customers driving from Columbia to come train with us. Like just all over the place. So we're like, you know what? Maybe we should take this and figure out a way to expand our geographic territory. So we went and the first base that we'd opened was Murray County,
Okay.
right? So right down there in Columbia, Mount Pleasant, we went and opened up our first base. And we wanted to walk through a proof of concept of, can we really do this? Can we take this and scale it out and turn it into multiple locations?
So that's an executive airport? Is that kind of
You know what? It's just a municipal airport.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
And they don't have any commercial flights going in and out, nothing
it.
like that.
Okay, okay.
But there's a lot of traffic in that
Okay.
area. I mean, GM is flying in and out every day.
Gotcha.
They've got meta flights. They got a lot of charters. There's a lot of fun stuff going on
Yeah.
at the Murray County Airport, right? And so we went and we did that as our next base. Really took off, really, no pun intended, but really went from there and began to grow. And we're like, okay, this is good. So we need to figure out ways to grow beyond that. And had an opportunity to acquire some additional locations and talk to my banker. And my banker's like, hey, let's figure this out and let's do it. And she put me in a great position and helped me go and purchase these other locations, and we've been building from there.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So going back to when you were that 7-year-old kid wanting to get into the music industry, what was that path of entering that like? Did you have a mentor that helped you get there? Kind of walk us through how you got to that point.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, on the music side, I had several mentors. I think about there was a gentleman named Dave Hibbard. He was known as one of the next to Miles Davis. He was the greatest trumpet player in New York City. He was a great session player, and he really invested into me and really helped me understand a lot of the music business stuff. I'm originally from Texas.
Okay.
So so when I started, I was doing a lot of business stuff down in Texas, and then in 1999 moved to Nashville and got connected up with some folks that really helped me kind of step up to the next level.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever play an instrument that when you were a child?
I call myself a frustrated guitar player and frustrated piano player. I was that kid that I took, let me think about this, 5 years of classical, 4 years of jazz piano, and still can't read music.
Wow.
Wow.
So do you auditory kind
Yeah.
of listen and find the notes
Yeah, I
and
can
play?
listen and go, okay, yeah, I figured this out.
That's impressive.
But even
Rare
now,
talent.
I mean, even today, it's like I look at, I guarantee you, sitting in the studio, there's probably 4 guys that have gotten their Grammy nomination from playing an instrument. That's the thing about Nashville. It's
Yeah.
like you walk around and, I mean, what is a joke in Nashville? Your Uber driver, the average Uber driver has 3 Grammy nominations.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty saturated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're saturated
yeah.
here. So
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a serious musician whatsoever.
Now, did you go to school for music, or like after high school, did
Yeah.
you go to college and
Yeah.
study music?
I went to McLennan down in
Okay.
Texas, and had some great teachers, and people that invested in me and taught me a lot of the glossary terms, because that's the thing about going to college for the music business. You learn the glossary terms, and then when you get in the real world, that's when you actually learn how things work.
Right.
Yeah, you learn the theory and then you have to learn the
Apply it.
reality. Yeah.
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 And application is way different than just head knowledge.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in aviation. It's the same concept.
So I'm curious, as you were in college and working towards your passion of getting into the music industry, were you also doing things on the side that were maybe stupid or just hobbies that kept you busy while pursuing, a career path?
Really, I didn't. Really, I was just completely focused on the music stuff, and just had that drive where it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Everybody get out of my way. I'm going here, right?
I like it.
Sure.
Yeah.
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 I just, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, maybe you did skydiving or you did something where you were like, I have such a passion for being in the air.
I never did. And that's what's funny. It's like all of my life, I was never interested in airplanes.
It's fascinating.
I don't know why. It's like, call it a midlife crisis. I don't know, but it's like, I just woke up and went, I like airplanes. And went and took one flight, and that just it's a drug.
When was your first flight?
Let me think about this. That would have been 2007.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay.
We were, my wife and I, we were at that phase in life where 2 incomes, no kids.
It's a good place to be.
Do you remember the days when you had money?
I am part of a double income, no kids household.
It's wonderful.
It's pretty
Right?
sweet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's where we were. And like if I wanted something, I would go buy it. It's not a big deal. I just go buy it. And so come Christmas time, my wife had no idea what to buy me.
Yeah, that's how we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was frustrating, right?
A little bit.
And so she's like, well, okay, I'll get him a certificate to go take a flight and we'll see what happens. Little did she know that
Wow.
would turn into such a passion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this started from your wife really just grasping for straws on a gift.
Yes.
That's insane.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so it was obviously not a flight that you were piloting. This was you were in a small plane, I'm guessing.
It's what we call an introductory flight lesson.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I just go up with an instructor and he's like, okay, try this, try that. He gave me the controls and gave me the opportunity to kind of figure it out and see if this is something I would be interested in. And as soon as we landed, I told my wife, I said, I'm doing this.
Wow.
And she's like, what? And I'm like, no, I'm doing this. I'm going to get my pilot's license. And she goes, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, right.
whatever.
Yeah, whatever you say.
And she said, sure, whatever. You just got to figure out how to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, flying airplanes, it's not cheap.
Sure.
Sure.
And so I went and I figured it out and got the money put together and went and took flying lessons, and that was that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So do you now, for dates, do you just take her on a romantic flight above different cities?
Let's fly to the beach for a day.
What a fantastic excuse
we totally can. We totally can. But she's taken flights with me, but she's like, I don't want to do that.
Is it like her driving in the car with you, or she's very much like,
Well, there is that. There is that. But, it's like, she's like, you're flying the little planes and they bounce a little bit more every once in a while.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'd just rather drive there. Okay. All right. We'll drive there.
Okay. Wow. So has she always been, does she have kind of a fear of flying at all, or is it
no.
just the smaller planes?
No, it's,
Okay.
and it's not even a fear. It's
Okay.
just like, you know what?
Less comfortable?
Let's just drive.
yeah.
Okay.
Because for her, it's all about the journey.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, if it takes more time, not a big deal. We got to talk.
Yeah.
We got to talk.
That's sweet.
That is sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
21 years of
like that.
marriage. That's what I've learned. We like to talk.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Where'd y'all meet?
Oh my gosh. So we were set up on a blind date.
Okay.
Were you really?
No joke. So the girl that set us up on a blind date is the same girl that set up Brad and Kimberly Paisley. So she tells everybody, I'm 2
she's
for
a
2.
matchmaker.
Right? Yeah. And she bragged about that for the longest time. She's like, oh, I'm 2 for 2. I got this figured out. But yeah, I was at a point in life, I'm like, dating life, whatever. If it works, it works. And she was in the same place. She's like, whatever. And so for, I think it was 8 months, my friend would call me every day and say, you have to go out with this girl.
What a commitment every day.
Every day. It was annoying. It was very annoying.
7 no's before you get a yes.
There was many no's, right? And I'm like, I'm not going to go out on a blind date, right? So same thing. She was working my wife the same way, calling every day. You have to go out with this guy, right? And persistent calling all the time.
Relentless.
So I finally said, you know what? Okay, to get you to shut up and leave me alone, I'm going to go on this date.
After 8 months, like you really you rode that one out for a little while.
I
sure did.
I was done.
Yeah.
I was done. I didn't want to be bothered anymore. Like that's how arrogant I was at the time, right? It's just like leave me alone.
What a
go
great
away.
attitude to go into a first date with.
Oh, let me take it the next step. By the way, this is a business podcast, right?
Yeah.
So I set the date up for failure. Okay? Because
How so?
You like didn't make reservations or
oh
something?
no. I got tickets to a ball game because I said, I'm going to go have a good time. I'm going to eat hot dogs. I'm going to eat nachos. I'm going to have a good time. I just want my friend to leave me alone.
Wow.
So I'm checking this box off so that we can move on, right?
And you're at least going to enjoy the process.
Yeah. It's like I'm going to feed me,
Yeah.
right? So this is me proving my arrogance, right? So I show up to pick up this girl, and immediately I'm like, that's going to be my wife.
Wow.
Love at first sight?
I knew at that second. I kid you not. And so she gets in the car with me and she looks at me and she goes, so what are we going to go do? And I'm thinking,
Uh-oh.
oh my gosh,
Now I don't want to do.
I have ruined this. I've ruined this already. And I know that this is going to be my wife. I know, right?
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to save this. What do I do? And I'm like, you know what? Just tell the truth. I said, well, I was thinking, I got tickets to a ball game. Do you like baseball? She goes, oh my gosh, I love baseball.
So you just melt into the chair.
And I'm like, okay, this is going to work. This is going to work. So we went to a ball game and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cute.
I don't know how close you are with your friend that set you up, but I too am single.
Yeah?
So if she wants to go 3 for 3.
I don't know how much you guys talk, but
Okay.
just saying.
Okay. All right. Just saying for a friend, right?
Yeah.
That's just for you to know, just trying to relate to the
Fun fact.
story. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How did we get there? How did we get to me
because
telling this story?
She got you the
Got you the gift that started your love
introductory. Yeah.
for aviation, and now ultimately
So
is
we
your
were, yeah.
Yeah.
So did she grow up in Nashville?
No.
Okay.
No, she grew up in Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you meet in Texas?
No, we met here.
Here. Okay.
Yeah. So our friend here set both of us up.
Got
And
it.
So what brought her to Nashville? Just to kind of go down this rabbit hole for a minute.
So, music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
She
shared
was-
passion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For music and baseball,
Yes.
which I think that's pretty great.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
Baseball's pretty
Diamond in the rough.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And like to this day, okay. So our first date, baseball game. I proposed to her at the baseball stadium.
Did you do the Jumbotron thing?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Because if I would have done that, she would have gotten in the car and left me.
Yeah. Okay.
Like-
I can understand that. Yeah.
So I rented a skybox, all you can eat hot dogs and popcorn, right?
So romantic.
Sure, that's what love is made of.
That's what love is made of, is hot dogs and popcorn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we had our private moment. We had our
That's
private
awesome.
moment. And it was great.
That's fantastic.
It was great.
Yeah.
precious.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I remember when I proposed, she just cried and cried and cried. And it felt like she cried for 30 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know where this is
Can
going.
you stop? Please?
Are we?
Are these happy
Can you
tears or
Yeah,
What is
like
happening?
my insecurity.
I'm
Oh, it
gonna
went through the
go
roof at that
Eat a
moment.
hot dog?
And I'm like,
while you-
I don't know if you're happy about this. Can you give me a yes or a no?
can you just nod or shake your head? I need some
Something,
sort
right?
of nonverbal is fine.
Right. And
yeah.
then she nodded, and I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay.
You're like, I'm on the edge of tears too.
Man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Good story.
It was a moment.
That's a great story.
Anyways, that has nothing to do.
That's okay. We'll pivot back to.
Please pivot back.
Yeah.
So talk to me about some of the barriers to entry, if you will, in aviation field.
Sure. I think when it comes to people getting into aviation, the two biggest barriers are, number one, the financial commitment. It's not cheap to learn to fly. It's really not. And much like going to college, going to a university, it's not cheap to do.
It's an investment.
It's an investment.
Sure.
And we know, like, somebody's number one expense is always buying their house. Their number two biggest expense is usually buying their car. and we're doing something that's right in between buying a house and buying a car.
Sure.
Well, actually, in the year 2024, we're a nice car, right? Like, you know, it's 65 grand to go and get all of your licenses to go to work in the airline industry.
Okay.
But it's a cheap education.
It's less than most colleges.
Yeah.
for
Oh,
4
absolutely.
years.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's way faster than most colleges too.
Sure. And there's flexibility.
Flexibility, all of that. So the number one is always, you know, financial. We've got, you know, we've got people that we work with and partners that we work with that can help people with a student loan and help them get in.
Okay.
The number 2 biggest barrier to entry is mindset.
Okay.
Because there are so many people that say, oh, I could never do that.
Yeah.
I can never learn to fly. And what they don't realize is, yeah, it's in some ways it's not as hard as you think, because let's be honest with ourselves. Anything worth going after, it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like whether you're going to get a degree in psychology or, you know, or learn to fly or learn to surf or whatever. If you're going to do it, you just got to work for it.
You got to go full send.
You have to go all in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see that these are the 2 biggest barriers that people deal with as they're getting into aviation.
So how did you deal with the aviation piece for you, starting as like a side hustle, like a hobby almost?
Yeah.
How did you go all in while also balancing career and maybe a growing family?
Yeah, well, number one, I did it before kids.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And truth be told, when we go and we look at our list of students, 90% of them are before kids. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's a mental, it's a time commitment, and it is a mental. You're dedicating yourself from the standpoint of being a perpetual learner. We actually, one of the things that we first teach pilots is a good pilot is always learning.
Okay.
Always learning.
Like new technology in planes, or like what does that entail?
There's nobody in our industry that knows everything that there is to know about aviation. There's nobody.
That's terrifying as someone who flies
No,
commercial.
but it's the truth. Well, that's why you have 2 pilots up front.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
It's like there's checks and balances.
Control there.
And we work together and we work as a team. And nobody is, hey, I'm going to give you 200 people on your own. No, that thought does not exist, because we're still human, and we still walk through risk management, and, you know, everybody's got each other's back in aviation. But again, nobody knows everything that there is to know. And so we drill the mindset, and we drill into people. A good pilot is always learning. I have one of the guys on our staff. His main job is he's a senior captain with American Airlines.
Okay.
He takes a lesson every single day.
Wow.
How takes what
that
kind of a lesson?
Sometimes,
Like a virtual lesson?
Sometimes he sits with another pilot and says, hey, teach me about X.
Okay.
Sometimes he'll go and he'll read through an aviation book. Sometimes he'll watch a series of YouTube videos.
Okay.
But his mindset is, I don't know everything that there is. There's always something to learn. And so therefore, like we teach people, you have to be constantly in a mindset of learning.
So talk about kind of the industry forecast, if you will, because I feel like we have a pilot shortage.
Oh, it's massive.
And so how does that translate for your students into, you know, their career?
Sure. So if you go back through history and you look, so we have World War II. There was a need for pilots. So we went and we trained all of these pilots.
And this is like a burgeoning technology at the time. Yeah.
Yes. Like, I mean, we're right at the front end of it.
Sure.
So we go and we train all of these pilots, and then the war's over. Yay. Now what do we do with all these pilots? So all these guys, they walked out of the military and they're like, well, I know how to fly.
Go fly commercial.
Yeah. So
Pan Am.
now,
Yeah.
or exactly. So now at this point, all of the airlines go and hire up all of these military pilots from World War II, right? So here we are at this point, and the airlines, if you go back and you study through history, the airlines, that's when they began to experience such exponential growth because they have the workforce to support what they're trying to scale up, right?
Sure.
So you go through the World War II pilots. Well, then there's Vietnam. Same thing. Vietnam, we got all these pilots and they're all trained and they're ready to go. Well, now we go and we take them and we put them in the cockpit. And so now the airlines, they're working off all of these military pilots. If you really, really look at our history, we haven't had such a level of military. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've had Desert Storm and we've had some other moments.
But that massive need to
right. But as
train
far
up
as
a
like the
bunch of
massive
pilots.
need to train a bunch of pilots, we haven't done that since Vietnam. Well, now all of those pilots, they either have retired or they are retiring. Let me blow your mind. Over the next 5 years, 75% of the workforce of American Airlines will be retired.
Whoa.
75%. So
Right.
now we
Yeah.
have this massive need for pilots.
Yeah.
So massive, massive pilot shortage. When I started in the flight training business, again, it was a side hobby. A pilot would start off in his first year about $16,000 his first year if he could get an interview.
Wow.
Well, now because the shortage is so bad, I'm seeing left and right students come through my program, graduate out of the program, and start off at $100,000 their first year.
Ooh.
Wow.
Like the demand is exponential right now.
What is the flexibility? What does their schedule tend to look like as the first year? Is it seniority kind of rank in terms of the?
Yeah, I mean seniority definitely dictates schedule.
Okay.
But your average the new hiree, he'll start off working 18 days a month. 18 days a month where he's actually flying. They'll have a couple days of travel, a couple travel days in there. Your first year, it's
And they have hours too. They can't go.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they cap off at 8 hours
For the day.
For 8 hours for
Yeah.
the day. Yep. So you can't
Which is likely a safety.
cannot have a tired pilot. It's absolutely
Yeah.
crucial.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they start off working about 18 days a month, and then as time rolls along, I mean I know guys that they're flying 5 days a month, 2 days a month. It's kind of all over the map. But
Yeah,
as your seniority grows, your schedule
So
gets
does your flexibility.
your schedule gets way easier
Wow.
and way more flexible.
Yeah.
Are you seeing now with AI coming into different industries, are you seeing any abilities with AI to help fly a plane, for example? May not completely replace the need for pilots, but at least could kind of help with this gap that we're approaching with the pilot shortage. Is there any?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk, but there's also a lot of pushback. We haven't made a computer that can calculate everything going on in an airplane yet.
Oh, wow.
It's like we're just not there
Okay.
because there's so many factors. There's the factors of, okay, what's going on in the back? There's the factors of what's happening with the aircraft. Is there an issue? There's the factors of what's happening outside of the aircraft. Is there a weather thing we need to watch out for? There's so many factors that, again, that's why we have two pilots up front, because it's two supercomputers sitting in the front seat making these decisions, and they will 9 times out of 10 they're going to make the best decision. So, but I mean, there's a lot of talk. We're just not there yet.
Not there.
Yeah, we're not there.
So does your company help kind of with this gap in pilots and helping people to get, maybe you mentioned scholarships. Do y'all participate in anything to help bring people in and show that that there are these resources?
Absolutely. I mean, we've got, I've got a whole staff of people that they are specifically dedicated to, number one, listening. Because like when a customer walks in the door, we have to listen first. Mm-hmm. And when we listen, we find out there's a dream. Mm-hmm. And, for some people, it's a dream of, I want to fly for fun. Okay. Or it's a dream of, I want to fly so that I can go to work for Delta or American or whatever. Okay. And for some people, it's, I have the dream, I want to fly cargo. Okay, yeah, sure. Right. So, number one, figuring out what is that dream. And then number two, figuring out how to take that dream and work a schedule, work a budget, work a way that we can help get that student across the finish line. Yeah. And sometimes it's scholarships, sometimes it's financing, sometimes it's encouragement. Hey, you may want to go get a second job, right? It's like sometimes you got to coach people along to help them achieve that dream. And you always want to call people back to, well, when you walked in the door, you said you wanted to do this. Now let's do it.
Right.
And we want to lock arms with somebody and help celebrate with them once they hit these goals.
Mm-hmm. So do you guys have any programs that kind of get people interested in being pilots? Like, is there anything?
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly doing community type stuff. We'll go to the library and go give a speech. We're working with different high schools across the state of Tennessee. Okay. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Seeing these kids that are like, they're bright-eyed and they're just like, I want to do this, and we're like, cool, let's go.
Yeah.
We have a kids camp that we do every year, where we bring in kids and introduce them to aviation, and that's a lot of fun. That's a fun project.
Yeah. What does that look like? What is that program?
It's actually it was 2 weeks ago, so we do it the last week of June.
Okay.
And for 1 week, over 5 days, select the first day, we'll bring in the kids and walk them through some safety talks. Okay. Walk them through teaching them a little bit of aerodynamics, a little bit of engine, getting them an exposure to aviation, if you will. The second day, it's usually let's go take a tour of the tower. So let's go check out air traffic control, and let's figure out let's see why they are such an important partner to what we're doing. Mm-hmm. The third day, we start talking about weather.
Okay.
There's I joke with people and I say, once you start your pilot training, you become an old man immediately. Because
checking the weather.
You're constantly checking the weather.
Referencing your farmer's almanac?
Exactly. Exactly. Because you want to know, it's like, not what's going on down here, what's going on up there.
Yeah.
Because what's going on up there, that's important. And that's what helps us be safe.
Not just in the city you're in, but you need to be mindful of where you are going and en route.
En route.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we train a lot on the weather side. And then Thursday and Friday of the camp, we actually take the kids up, let them fly. It's like the instructor does all the dirty work, of course, but the instructor goes and says, okay, your airplane, take the controls, learn how this thing works, feel it out. See how you become one with the machine.
Oh,
I want to go to this camp.
Can adults come?
Yeah.
So it's 13 to 18.
All right. Well, I
can make that work.
I can. Yeah.
All right.
Let's see.
We'll talk later.
All right.
I'm just.
All right. We'll make it work.
That has to be so exciting for them to get to. I'm sure they're just like waiting for that Thursday, Friday.
Oh, no joke. Yeah. Like it's the pinnacle. It's the pinnacle of the week. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
That's awesome.
And for us, it's that thing that keeps it from being work. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean when I say that? Mm-hmm. Like there are days, and I know you guys in the banking business, when you get to see a loan go through, that's a celebration moment, right? Because it's like, wow, we got to help somebody out.
Yep.
For us, this is that moment for us where it's like, hey, This kid got to touch the controls for the first time in his life, and here we are 5,000 feet off the ground.
They might not even be driving yet.
Correct.
But they can say that they have flown an airplane.
Right.
We see it all the time. I kid you not. Like when I was young, I couldn't wait to get my driver's license, right?
Yeah.
And
Freedom.
it's like I'm driving even before I have a license because like I'm pumped about this. I want to drive the truck.
Yeah.
We're seeing kids all the time get their pilot's license before they get their driver's
their
license.
drivers?
We see it all the time.
Wow.
Wow.
Wait, you can do that
Yes, you can.
legally?
Yes.
So is there an age limit on getting what's the age cap or minimum on getting a pilot's license?
I love this question. So for students, they can solo at 16 years old.
Wow.
So in other words, at 16 years old, I can take a kid, as long as he's had the training, on his 16th birthday, I can turn him loose with the airplane.
Oh.
He's not allowed to fly passengers.
Okay.
It's just him.
Yep.
And he has to fly under my jurisdiction, under the instructor's care. But at 17, he can get his license.
Wow. There are a number of hours that lead up to that license.
So there's a bare minimum of 40 hours worth of training.
Okay.
But it's like we don't want to train somebody to the bare minimum. We want to train them to where we feel confident, they feel confident.
Sure.
We feel confident, we feel confident, we feel confident. Right?
Yeah.
Like if
they're safe, everyone else is safe.
Everyone else is safe, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I would think that would be the goal. Flying an airplane is
Absolutely.
safety.
Absolutely.
Number one
Absolutely.
priority. So in the aviation field, knowing that there's a shortage of pilots, there's also a shortage in representation of pilots, particularly women and minorities. Can you speak to that at all about how your company or just the field in general is sort of aware of this and what they're doing to solve it?
Absolutely. So when it comes to, so let me separate this out. So when it comes to women in the cockpit, we're big fans, huge fans. Matter of fact, we partner with an organization called Women in Aviation. And I frequently tell people, the difference, if you will, like if we're talking about an automobile, right, and we're talking about car insurance, male car insurance is through the roof. Female car insurance, even at 16 years old, is reasonable. And the reason is because what do boys say all the time? Hey, hold my beer and watch this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, women are more risk averse. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially while we're driving.
Especially, right. And so like in the aviation world, let me tell you, female pilots are fantastic because they never say, hey, watch this. They never they never say that when they're flying an airplane.
Yeah.
And for us, we're like, wow, this is awesome, right?
Sometimes they do when they're hosting a podcast, but yeah.
That's true. That's
Different
true.
circumstances.
And then, oh my gosh, you've totally thrown me off.
I'm so sorry. So women are more risk averse. They're
Just more risk averse, and there's no, they're not trying to prove anything.
Sure.
And when they don't understand something, like us guys, we typically go, hey, do you understand? Yeah, I got it. And walk away, and
Clearly they don't.
they don't.
The stereotype that men don't ask for directions
Correct.
applies.
No, it's the truth. It really is the truth. And it's like with a woman, with a female student, you go, hey, do you understand? If they don't understand, they will speak up. And that's a good thing. That's a really, really good thing.
Yeah. Questions are a sign of intelligence.
Yeah.
So.
It really is.
Absolutely.
It's like you're trying to get a full grasp of it.
Yeah.
And so
And goes back to the pilots should constantly be learning.
Absolutely.
And risk averse. Like they're
Yes.
like you're less likely to just be like, I'll wing it. I'll figure it out in the moment.
No pun intended.
Because you don't want to take that chance.
No, and it's like, my wife and I, we have the joke of, some guy where we're like, oh, his frontal lobe is not fully developed.
That's amazing.
Right? Bless him. Bless his heart, right?
That's amazing.
And it's like, it's just a matter of science. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is a matter of science. But it's like, we want to make sure that somebody really, really and truly understands what they're doing before we turn them loose with an airplane that costs more than their house.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, you've got to be safe in that.
So the Women in Aviation, is that a national?
It is. It's a national organization with local chapters.
Okay.
And so there's a couple of chapters right here in the Nashville area, and they're doing fantastic because they're out there promoting aviation to the next generation, and that's really, really important.
I might go look it up after this podcast.
You totally should. Yeah. And they're a bunch of cool ladies, like really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
They get together, they talk this stuff out, and encourage each other. They have scholarships, and it's really, really an important part of the aviation world.
Sure.
Really, really is.
That's awesome. Are there any like-minded groups for other minorities?
Yeah. So there's a Black Pilots Association that's out there.
Okay.
And again, it's like very much a like-minded organization where they have scholarships and they are targeting a specific group. Where it's like, hey, you don't have to wish that you could do this. You can actually do it.
It can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think whether it be that or even the believe it or not, there's a National Gay Pilots Association. Same thing, where it's like they're trying to get people to understand that aviation is something that can be done by anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also just bringing the awareness that this is a lucrative field that has huge job security, in that there's going to be a shortage,
Always a need.
Always a need,
and that need is just ever growing in terms of commercial, and like you referenced cargo, like that's something you don't even think about, but you've Memphis, 3 hours away, a huge FedEx hub in terms of their freight.
It's the busiest airport in the world after 10 p.m.
The FedEx airport?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Matter of fact, piece of trivia, if you want to just
love those.
Yeah.
But piece of trivia, if 2 o'clock in the morning, if you walk outside and you look toward the west, just look up in the sky toward the west, a lot of times you'll see the planes stacked up from Memphis,
interesting.
where they just shot they just had a bunch of planes depart from Memphis. And what they do is they take off from Memphis and they head toward Nashville as a waypoint. And then from Nashville, then they go out and branch out from there.
Which it makes sense because it's like the center of the country almost. You can get to...
Oh, yeah.
What is the statistic? Is it like 80% of the country is within a 8-hour flight, or not 8, it's like 5 hour flight from Memphis. Yeah. So what kind of, earlier you had referenced it being difficult, kind of starting this business. What were some of those difficulties that you faced early on, and kind of how did you tackle those?
Wow. I'll tell you this, like being an outsider getting into the aviation business, it was kind of difficult at first.
Okay.
Because like here I was the guy from out of town, right? Mm-hmm. I wasn't the guy that had grown up in aviation. I wasn't the guy that had been an airline pilot. I was the guy that showed up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden I'm doing this thing that all the aviators were doing. Mm-hmm. And aviation is very much it represents less than 1% of the American population.
Wow.
So it's a strange, we as aviators, we're a strange group of people. We're we're almost inbred, right? Yeah. Just very, very different, in a very different mindset. Okay. And so here, this guy, he's from the music business. What the heck is he doing here? So it was weird at first. And so it took me a while to figure out what the heck I was doing. But what I was doing was just using basic business principles and good customer service principles. And, you know, us pilots, we love to talk about ourselves a lot. We really do. So when it comes to my instructors, of course, I'm hiring great technicians, very, very competent pilots. But for everybody else, all of my administrative people, I purposely don't hire aviation people because I want to hire people that listen first. That's a big secret to our business. We have people, I've surrounded myself with really, really smart people, but we have people that listen first. Because when you listen to people, I mean, you guys know this. This is what you do. It's like when you listen to people, that's how you get business.
Yeah, that's how you learn.
That's how it's and that's how you learn. And so for us, you know, we have this great group of people that are constantly listening. You know, going back to the question about challenges, I had moments where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Right? Just being honest with myself and going, this is the moment I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I need help.
And who did you
how did
resource?
you
So
overcome
there were a couple of places that I went to. So number one, there's a couple of trade associations of, you know, other flight schools across the country, and I would go to those guys and say, hey, you know, how do you do this? How have you guys done this in the past? And so that was like a really, really important resource to me, being able to go and steal recipes from other people.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, why reinvent the wheel?
Right, exactly. It's like, why go through all of that suffering when you could make a phone call, learn something, and go, oh, okay, all I need to do is buy this book, or all I need to do is buy this piece of software, right? For me, the second piece that was just as important, I joined a group here in town locally called C12.
Okay.
It is a business peer group. And so like every month, 12 of us get together at a table and talk about business and talk about ways, like we're trading practices back and forth of, you know, hey, I had this HR issue. How do I navigate through this? Hey, I've got this accounting issue. What would you guys do? I'm just a big fan of stop and ask for directions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Going back to
fighting the stereotype that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, very exactly, yes. But I mean, I have no problem with stopping and saying, I don't know, let me find out.
Are you still a part of C12 today?
Absolutely.
Oh, very good.
So
Absolutely.
I'm guessing it spans multiple industries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what other types of industries do you like commonly find
Crowdsource
represented? Yeah.
So, I mean, for instance, like at my C12 table, I sit with a guy who owns storage facilities,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And you would think, oh, okay, he's a storage facility. Well, guess what? It's still business, right? He still has customer service things that he has to work through. He still has HR issues he has to work through. He still has banking things that he's trying to figure out. And again, that's where the power of the table comes. Is
Power of the table. I love it.
Yeah. It's like when people are just honest with themselves and go, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's face it, we live in a world today where, you know, I had a buddy of mine, he called me up the other day and he goes, hey man, I need help. Yeah, what's up? He goes, how do you put a chain on a bicycle? And I'm like,
YouTube.
Google it.
Exactly. And that's what I told him. I said, John, did you YouTube it? He goes, oh, I didn't even know why I didn't think of that. I'll call you back. Okay. And so I talked to him a couple of days later and he's like, yeah, I got on YouTube and there was 100 videos on
how to put a bike
how to put a bicycle chain on, right? Truth be told, when it comes to running a business, like when you're really, really honest, is there a little bit of YouTube content out there? Yes. Is there some ideas out there? Yeah. Are there some basic principles? Yeah. Going back to, you know, college, a college education. Does a college education teach you how to run a business? No. But it teaches you the glossary terms, right? And so really and truly the way that I've been able to run a business is ask questions. And that's okay.
Yeah. And you also, I believe you'd mentioned when you had started the flight training school, you had a partner that you had done this with. Was he someone that you had met kind of in your passion for learning how to fly
Yeah,
a plane?
yeah,
How did y'all's
absolutely.
relationship come to be?
Yeah, I mean, it started off where he was the principal, and you know, he really got the thing started and got it rolling. And I remember one day asking him, I said, "Hey, what's your marketing plan?" And he said, "What?" I said, what's your marketing plan?" And he goes, "Well, we've got a sign that's going to be hung on the front of the building next week." And I said, "Okay, that's great."
Good start.
I said,
Okay.
Tell me more about your marketing plan." And he said, "Well, my cousin has designed some business cards, and we're going to have." I said,
Oh.
"Dude," I said, "let me take care of your marketing." And he goes, "Okay, sure." And so I did the marketing because it's what I understand, and it's not a big deal.
You got to pull from your previous life.
Correct,
Exactly.
yeah. And
exactly.
put in some of those, same thing. It's still running a business.
It's still
Doesn't
running a
matter
business.
what you're doing.
It really is. And so whether we're selling flight training records or chocolate chip cookies, it's all the same
all the
business
same.
principles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if we could we kind of pivot to some interesting stories from your time in the music industry?
That you're allowed to share.
Yeah, like what types of acts did you work with, and anything?
What was the wildest request?
Yeah.
The wildest request. So without names?
Without names.
Sure.
Without names.
Yep.
So the wildest request I will remember, hey, we need an SUV to pick up this artist. Okay. And it has to have leather seats. Okay. Let me work on that. And so I spent 3 days calling around. This was a long time ago.
Prior to Uber. Or
Right, long time
Lyft.
ago. And so, because we're needing an SUV to act as a limousine for this artist, and I spent 3 days calling around, and I couldn't find one with leather seats. But I found one. It was really nice. And so I said, "Hey, I've got one, and the only thing, it's black, it's tinted windows, it's perfect, it's going to be great, but it doesn't have leather seats. That won't work."
Oh.
I said, I'm sorry. Yep, can't do it. Need you to go back to the drawing board. We have to have something with leather seats. Okay, all right. Let me work on
Was
this.
there a why?
So I didn't press, right? So I spent another 3-4 days. There is no leather seats in this city that we're going to. And so finally I called back and I'm like, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I can't get leather seats." "Well, we can't do the show."
Wow.
Okay, so
Wow.
High stakes.
So help me. Okay, all right. Message received. So help me understand why we can't do the show when we don't have leather seats. Well, if we don't have leather seats, then the dress gets static. And then we've got issues, and the dress gets caught on the seats, and we can't do that.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Wardrobe malfunction. I said, message received. So I had to go to
Just go to a dealer and buy a car.
distant city, had to go to a distant city with a distant limo company
Oh my gosh.
and find it and have them drive 2 hours to get leather seats in place. So that was probably one of my stranger stories.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good
But
one.
that's okay.
Was this before the advent of static cling, the spray?
It may have been.
Possibly.
It may have been,
Okay.
right? I think about that story. I'll tell you a fun story.
Okay.
I'll tell you a really fun story. So years ago, I had the opportunity to be part of the first team to sign the Jonas Brothers.
Wow.
Ooh.
Okay? These guys are fantastic. Love them.
Aw,
Love them. So here we go, and gosh, I mean, this was so long. I think Nick was 11 years old when we signed him.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
I forgot how young they
Okay.
were.
Yes.
Yeah. So
really
we
were
go and we sign
childlike.
these guys and bring them in, and we'll never forget when they bought their first van. They were so proud
Aw.
of their first van. And it's like, they're like, "Chris, check out our van. Isn't this awesome?" And I'm like, yeah, guys.
Great job.
Great job.
You got
you know,
a van.
and it's like for them,
That's the peak.
they
Yeah.
had made it, right? And I remember at one point we had them playing 3 school assemblies every day.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
wow. They were
Oh.
hustling.
Oh,
Seriously.
But these guys, they would work.
Yeah.
They loved it, and they were so passionate. And then I'll never forget. A few months later, we had them come back through Nashville, and they did their show at 3rd and Lindsley.
Oh.
And so their next show at 3rd and Lindsley, they had a bus. And they were so excited because they're like, you remember the van? And I'm like, well, yeah, that was a great van. And they're like, check this out. And it's like, whoa, wow, look at this. You know, and the bus is all decked out. And,
That's
and like
awesome.
for them, you know, they really made it because
They're superstars.
now they fly on 3 separate jets.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
They're at a totally different level now.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's
Very cool.
Yeah.
love those guys though.
Humble roots.
Very, very humble.
Yeah.
What is the craziest thing that's happened to you while in flight?
The craziest thing that's happened to me in flight. Wow. This is a really, really difficult question. You want like a scary story or
Yeah.
like a
Scary.
okay, a scary story. Okay, craziest thing that happened to me in flight. You know what? It would be the day that I was flying through Huntsville, and I'm flying through this area, and I remember air traffic control saying, "Hey, are you good with flying through the military operations area?" And I said, "Sure. Do I have clearance?" And they're like, "Yep, you're clear. Just fly straight. You'll go through the military area." Okay. And I look over, and there's a military drone right next to me. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. It was a little scary at first, but then I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I just kept going. And air traffic control was like, you're good. Everything's fine. They know that
They
you're
were just
there.
watching you.
We know
Yeah.
that you're there. Everybody knows that you're there. Just making sure you know that, you're flying through a military operations area. Okay, cool.
They have you in whatever that.
The radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
You know, when they lock in to
Yes.
shoot a missile at you,
Yes,
they have
totally.
it on you.
Who knows what was on that drone? Who knows what could have happened that day? But, again, part of my pilot training was don't panic.
Stay calm.
Stay calm. It's okay. Fly the plane.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.